Is the retracement over and are Bitcoin and crypto primed for a bullish September and a bullish reversal into September? There are some signs that that may be the case. This was just a normal sort of down August and that things might be ready to ramp up. To discuss that all right now with Andrew and Tillman. Let's go.
Let's go.
Good morning, everybody. As you can see, I am shipwrecked on a random island in the shadows here. A lot of light behind me. I'm not a good producer, so I really couldn't figure out in the last 5 minutes how to get my camera to look good. And I don't really care because most of you just listen and tune me out anyways. But two people you should be listening to are Andrew and Tillman. Can you guys hear me well?
Yeah, we got
all
you
right.
good.
All right, guys, we got the title here, Bitcoin and crypto primed for bullish reversal into September. I know that many people here are not much for charts and things like that, but my favorite signal, I'm just going to say it's showing right now. And it is trying to bring up the screen, bullish divergence right here with RSI on the 4-hour chart. It's my favorite thing in the whole world. It's what I trade on. As you can see, you had bearish divergence at the top with RSI overbought, and now you got bullish divergence with RSI oversold. Is it that easy? It usually is. But, what are you guys thinking here? That's my favorite signal. It's probably got an 80% hit rate, at least for like temporary bottoms and tops. You know, maybe it comes down a little more, but it feels like we're bottoming at the very least here. What do you think, Andrew?
You know, charts are awesome and interesting. So are calendars. We're moving into a calendar period where just by sheer force of will, Wall Street comes back and starts shoveling client money into asset classes. And that's what's going to be happening across, first and foremost, crypto ETFs. So both Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs. I've said several times in the last couple of weeks on my X account that, you know, we're going to get to 135 and it'll happen really fast. It'll happen kind of in a blink of an eye. And I still think that's the case. I think that sell in May and go away is literally coming to an end as we speak, and we're headed higher. So I love the title, bullish reversal into September. I think that's true. You know, we may have a quote unquote head fake or two that moves us a little bit lower, but you know, again, you can't, you simply can't argue with, you know, large inflows of capital in the fall. You just can't do it. It's going to happen, and so it's just a question of to what level does Bitcoin push higher.
Yeah, Tillman, I know you don't care about what the price is today or next week or whatever, but still, you know, we can have a general outlook.
Well, I am not a price guy, but I would speculate that the bull run is not over. So if the bull run's not over, it's just a matter of time when the reversal happens. And even if we dip a little bit more, I love the dips. Those are the buying opportunities. Like if you believe in the thesis of Bitcoin and you believe that we're going to what all the, you know, talking heads say that we're going to 6 figures plus mid 6 figures, 500, 250, 350, 750. We haven't even begun the race, right? So the fact that we're looking at this pullback and even, you know, speculating as to whether it's the end or not, you know, if it's the end, we did basically a double this bull run. That's very, very unusual, and it would, in my opinion, change the thesis around the 4-year cycle. Absolutely. Like, you know, there's a lot of speculation as to whether the 4-year cycle's dead or not, but, you know, I don't see it. So yes, I agree with both of you. The price should bounce pretty good. And if it doesn't
yeah, we got to be so bored if we're talking about $115,000 Bitcoin as bad. I mean, I think, you know, even Andrew, you say sell in May and go away. I think the May top was like 110. But price was generally lower in May. So when do we ever get an up summer and we're bitching coming out of August?
Exactly.
Because we're not, you know, we were at 124, what, like 2 weeks, a week ago, 2 weeks? I mean, we were just there anyways, retesting the highs.
Yeah, there was, you know, you got to love reply guys. I've got a couple reply guys. One of them was consistently saying in summer, oh, it's a sideways summer, see in September. Sideways summer, see in September. And that was at 106, 107. And we bounced to 122, 123. So not sideways summer. And, again, the fall, we should see, I'm watching clips from the Wyoming blockchain deal, which is part of the SALT conference network. There's a lot of meaningful folks with meaningful amounts of capital and allocations to make at, conferences like that. Lots of extraordinary sort of announcements that, again, are going to overall affect liquidity associated with both Bitcoin and crypto markets. And we still have IPOs that are on their way to traditional markets associated with the crypto space. So none of that is downside narrative. Other than some kooky Maduki guy on Twitter saying somehow they're manipulating the price of Bitcoin to keep it down. What are the downside narratives associated with Bitcoin? There aren't any. If there are, they're very, very limited as opposed to the upside narrative. So that's what I bank on, right?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Wyoming. Obviously, we have Jackson Hole,
Mm-hmm.
SALT conference, both happening there, and then a huge announcement that Tillman just actually showed me right before the show because I'm shipwrecked on an island, so my news flow has been kind of bad. Lost my keys actually in a boating accident out here. But Wyoming state debuts US dollar stablecoin on 7 blockchains. What?
Yeah, I think this is the story of the day for sure. And if it's not the story of the month, and I think it's the story because, I was pretty excited when I heard about these large institutions doing layer ones or having interest in doing layer ones, specifically stable coins. And it's been, a popular trend here. There's a lot of stable coins coming out. To have a state issue a stable coin, I think is an ace. Which one would you rather own? Something that's state issued and transparent and part of the system versus some institutional coin that may or may not have that type of transparency. I just think this is a massive deal, and the fact that Wyoming's leading the way doesn't surprise me. I mean, they led the way in terms of
maybe it matters which state. A California stablecoin might hit different than a Wyoming stablecoin for people.
Well, there's been a huge movement away from, for example, Delaware incorporation and moving it to Wyoming, right? Because of, for all intents and purposes, the politics associated with Delaware and some of the things that have gone on there. And so Wyoming has benefited in a huge way by being innovative and open. And so there's been big moves in mass to Wyoming associated with incorporating there and domiciling there if you're a corporation. Same thing, by doing this, they're opening themselves up to, again, a rush of innovation associated with digital assets, the digitization of the dollar, the banking innovation that they're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're innovating and pushing the envelope. No question that Caitlin has been at the forefront of this, pushing the envelope, pushing the Fed, going head to head. This is another of those moves that says, hey, we're gonna step out in front. We're gonna make something happen, and let's see if we can gather additional eyeballs, additional capital, and additional corporations to come and do business here in Wyoming.
Well, there's a few insider things that they're talking about here that I find really fascinating. Number one, the fact that they chose Avalanche. I did an exhaustive 2-year study on real world assets and blockchains and which chains should be chosen, which ones are the most mature, which ones are capable and functional. And Avalanche is at the top of that list. So they're definitely getting good counsel as it pertains to the technology. I would say that, number one. Number two, things that they're saying, like Avalanche put out a pretty good tweet this morning. I'll retweet it. Says reducing time. We did a pilot program on they're calling it Front Coin for real time.
Yeah, Frontier.
Frontier, yeah. For contractor payments, reducing timelines from 45 days to seconds. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever done contract work for the government, but the reason why all the prices are so high is because the only firms that can cash flow the project until they get paid on government jobs are these massive firms, and they build in a large buffer of margin to account for the complexities and the difficulties in getting paid by the government. And so streamlining government payments is going to reduce costs, period, the end. So I love that. And then the second thing says, now imagine what's next, real-time tax refunds. Like that's game-changing stuff. If they're able to pull this off, every single state's going to do it. And it would lend itself to think that the entire government would see the efficiency delta here and pursue it.
So then we get a central bank digital currency. Hooray. But yeah, just for clarity, because I do see Avalanche wrote about this. It's actually being, I don't know if you saw this, but it's being debuted on 7 blockchains. So we got Arbitrum, Avalanche, Base, Ethereum, Optimism, Polygon, and Solana. Yeah, so they're going big here. I mean, they're going to be they're going to make this interoperable, cross-chain, and used for all those purposes that you talked about. I wonder how widely this will be used beyond like the state and for state level things. Like, are they trying to compete with the Tether internationally? It's really interesting.
Well, and they're saying that they're going to put it on RAIN issued Visa cards. So now it's got functionality as it relates to actually spending it in the real world, not just getting paid. So pretty interesting stuff. I think it's game changing for sure.
Yeah, Scaramucci was on CNBC this morning talking about again stablecoins and their usability in the real world, and he gave an example of being at shops in Bermuda and the ability to actually transact in stable coins, in the moment at point of sale. And that he's done that. And the transactions are, remarkably smooth, and all of the fees associated with, what happens in traditional transactions have been stripped out. And it just seems like that's where we're headed on a big time scale. And the disruption associated with it, traditional firms are going to have to play catch up. And they're going to have to. I do find it interesting that what was just laid out as the 7 brands that they're going to be using for this almost tracks identically to the Biddle portfolio at BlackRock. Shocking and surprising.
Shocking.
So it's interesting that I've said since BlackRock announced that they were going to do a Bitcoin ETF, you'd be pretty smart to just kind of follow what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it in the crypto space. So if you saw them announce their Biddle portfolio, however long ago, 12 months ago, I don't know, probably made some sense to pick up a little bit of each of those, crypto names, because they've done exceptionally well. And I'm sure they're having a good day today with this particular announcement.
The banking narrative, which is the stablecoin narrative, right? They go hand in hand. And I think Ripple is on the forefront of that. I mean, look at what they're doing for Gemini's IPO. I think they're giving them a $175 million credit facility. Is that correct? Did you guys see that story?
Yep, that's correct.
Well, Ripple announced this morning, 51 minutes ago, congratulations to Bullish on their successful IPO. And they arranged, Bullish did a partnership with Ripple, evidently, to where they've arranged for 1.15 billions of dollars of the IPO proceeds to be paid to them in Ripple's stablecoin. So, the fact that Ripple's out there doing this should not be surprising. They now have a stable coin. They're soon to have a banking license, I would assume. They own a large exchange in Hidden Road. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at the fabric that's being woven here and see what it looks like. I mean,
I haven't looked deeply into that, but as you describe it, it seems like Ripple is really skating to where the puck's at with the institutional and government side of crypto. Like they have the money, they have the power, they have the, I guess, regulatory clarity now. And as you said, they can actually utilize their own stable coin to increase usage of it for all of these purposes. It's pretty brilliant.
And they can cash their XRP stack in for stable coins. So it's this huge collateralized 21st century exchange that is now offering IPO services and payment through their stablecoin. That's first of its kind. It's like what's going on in Wyoming. No one's ever done that before. It's never happened. So it definitely deserves our attention.
This is what I've talked about liquidity in the crypto markets associated with equity IPOs, right? So, Bullish and Ripple doing some things. There's liquidity being passed back and forth there. Gemini taking a credit facility from Ripple, liquidity being passed back and forth there. There's new capital that's created literally out of thin air associated with Gemini's IPO that's happening momentarily. That's going to continue to fuel a move higher. And again, that to me, that's the reason why there's going to be a breakout to the upside that's going to be pretty extraordinary in my mind. You just can't continue to create and facilitate sizable amounts of liquidity that just goes nowhere.
It's no different than the ICO, but now we're doing IPOs on crypto exchanges, right? Which is this. Look at how much look at the ICO craze and how much liquidity that pumped into the markets. I mean, that was an incredible sight to see. It was money sloshing all around everywhere, every day. Now you're looking at Ripple doing the exact same type of a structure. And if you think about it, it's genius. If I'm going to launch my IPO, and I'm a big crypto company, Gemini, and I want to partner with somebody that can give me all the collateral that I need, all the loan that I need, the facilities that I need. Time they actually have the exchange where people can go buy it, both retail, institutional, the whole gamut. It's accessible by all human beings. How do you think you would gatekeep that type of a project? Well, you force people to buy it in your stable coin, right? And then you have more liquidity coming in. It's the exact same recipe that the ICOs did. You had to get in. If you wanted to buy a unique ICO on Binance, what did you have to hold? BNB. You had to hold Binance. Yeah. So it's same. It's just happening now with IPOs, which is insane because there's so much more money in the IPOs, and there's so much more traditional finance that is paying attention to this, but it's being done in a high speed rail versus an old locomotive, steam locomotive. It's insane.
And meanwhile, back at the ranch, when we talk about the title here, primed for bullish reversal into September, you guys talk about all these catalysts. We haven't even talked about if that means anything for altcoins, but Coinbase. I don't know if you guys saw this, put this out, monthly outlook, altcoin season cometh. I mean, it's a pretty outrageously bullish and bold claim by Coinbase. We think current market conditions now suggest a potential shift towards a full-scale altcoin season.
Yeah, that's a full-throated endorsement of alt season. And, as you can imagine, Coinbase is aware of movement and projects and inclusion of additional tokens beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum in particular projects that will inject liquidity into those projects, meaning they're one of the 7 blockchains associated with the Wyoming announcement. Base is one of those, one of those that are included. Obviously, this has been talked about and had been put together for 6 to 9 months. It didn't just happen in the last 3 days, right? So in their mind, they're thinking, all right, this is happening, and then something else is happening, and JP Morgan is doing projects on Base, yada, yada, yada. At some point, there has to be an inflection associated with that liquidity. So we feel pretty comfortable putting out this, this document and phraseology associated, alt season cometh. By the way, if alt season doesn't cometh and it goes the opposite way, they're a public company and they have shareholders. And if those shareholders are not thrilled, there are legal issues associated with putting something out like this and it going the opposite direction. So they have to feel meaningfully good about it, and they're counsel and compliance department probably said, all right, yep, we're good on that, because
Well, they had to take the King James script out, but other than that, it passed. Yeah, no, I
I was
mean,
gonna
this is
say,
as
you know
bullish
who
as
an
it
alt
gets.
season cometh thing would be really good for?
what?
Coinbase.
Yeah, exactly.
Who would benefit the most from this cometh thing alt season in the United States? Go ahead.
Yeah,
So, sorry.
Coinbase. Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
You were jumping in. Sorry.
No, Coinbase is just you can't understate the behemoth that Coinbase is. We've talked about it on this show. The amount of customers they have, the amount of capital inside of their ecosystem. You can't call Coinbase an exchange. It's all things to a lot of people. We have customers at Arch Public that consider Coinbase their bank. It's where they have large portions of their.
Well, how can you argue with it when they're giving 4% for USDC holdings? I mean, that's pretty. Where are you going to get? What other bank gives you that?
Yeah, yeah, and so Coinbase, for all its potential warts, certainly in the crypto Twitter space, in the real world, Coinbase is a monster, and they are not slowing down. And their rate of innovation and being involved and included in just about everything that's happening across crypto is pretty. It's something to watch. It really.
Well, Brian is a genius, right? I mean, he's at the forefront. He's not there by accident, and he's not TradFi minded. He's this healthy hybrid, if you will. And he's done things that, in my opinion, deserve what Coinbase has from a market share perspective. Like they were hanging out there for a long time. It's bet the jockey, right? And he's one of the jockeys I would bet on. And another jockey I would bet on, not to shift topics, but did you guys see that Bo Hines is going to join?
That was I was going to bring that up. Man, this guy.
He's
unbelievable.
I mean,
dude, just go work for the government for 4 to 6 months. 6 months, get your profile massively up, and then go get the biggest possible job with the most profitable company on the planet in crypto, and come back and negotiate with Washington from the other side.
Yeah.
All in an administration. Usually the revolving door takes longer than the administration. Your president loses or you leave after your full term. Guy did it for 6 months.
Yeah. Yeah. And did an impressive job of it as well. Like he crushed it.
Jeez, man. I wonder how much
I think the big headline there is not Bo Hines. It's, Tether's U.S. expansion. I think that's something that we should, sit up and take real notice of. Tether dominates globally in terms of, stablecoin usage. There's no question about that. Their balance sheet is a wonder to behold. So, bringing them quote unquote onshore, there's nobody better to do that than Bo Hines. And again, it goes to the movement of stablecoins. Take Bo Hines, Tether, U.S. onshore, and then add a sizable sprinkling of Scott Bessent saying that stablecoins are going to chew up a bunch of the dollar and be positive for the dollar for a bunch of different reasons. The stablecoin movement is hitting its stride. There's no doubt about that.
I know that you're absolutely right about the story, but I'm just thinking that the story is that Bo just capitalized on took 6 months of government torture and he's out. It's amazing. Who wouldn't take that deal? Absolutely incredible. But I think your point is right. I mean, Tether has said that they're going to find a way to become compliant or to create something new that's, compliant with the Stable Act in the United States. And this is clearly another step. I mean, the first iteration of this was obviously custodying with Cantor Fitzgerald, then putting Lutnick basically on the board, right? Or giving him a position. He's in the government. They're just stacking chips right now to make sure that Tether is not left out when the Stable Act is, fully realized.
Exactly. Which is awesome.
politics is grimy and generally gross. I don't care what side of the aisle you fall on, but it's also a reality.
No, my party does it right. My party does.
But at the same time, you got to root for innovation, right? Again, a reminder, 18 months ago, we were in crypto hell, let's call it. Like literally nothing was legal. If you had a crypto company in the United States, there's a good chance you were being sued. All of them were being sued. And now we're in a position where we're just crypto leaning forward across a bunch of different versions of regulatory bodies associated with finance here in the United States. And we've got Bo Hines going from, the White House to, think about this, Bo Hines going from the White House to Tether, when 18 months ago, there was still this angry mob on crypto Twitter saying Tether was the biggest Ponzi scheme in the history of the world, right?
Paolo came to Washington right after the election and said, I thought I'd go to jail if I came to the United States. It's my first trip here ever.
Yep.
CEO of Tether.
Exactly right. So, how far we've come, right? How far we've come to where, Tether's CEO finally comes to the United States. He's welcomed in. It's not like Bo Hines left the administration and says, I wonder what I'm going to do next. Let me turn on open to work on my LinkedIn. No, that's not how that happens. He knew where he was going when he left. He joins Tether, and now they're going to do whatever they can to be a big player.
You think he had that offer before he resigned? Crazy. No way.
Maybe.
I thought he just YOLO'd. He didn't want it. Just hoped that he would get a job afterwards. I don't know if you saw this story, by the way. Did you see the strategy news here?
Yeah.
Oh, let me scroll that up. It's hard when I'm on one screen. I'm not good at this. But they've strategy has eased their MSTR stock sale limits as shares hit lowest level since April. He had basically made a rule that they wouldn't sell equity below the 2.5 market to net asset value threshold, and now it's fine.
Listen, this is a story, and boy, is it fear-inducing, because I don't think there's a person out there that has looked at the MicroStrategy rise to fame and not said to themselves, like, how sustainable is this? Where does it go? Are the rules going to eventually have to change? What does the more robust, complex, mature model look like 5 years from now? Like, those are all things that I think most people have thought. I don't know if y'all have seen, but there are some pretty well-known influencers out there that are vocally attacking MicroStrategy. I would not do that. I think that is fraught with risk. I don't think you have any evidence to prove that. And I think it is extremely dangerous from a fear perspective. I do think there's a lot of people that I've spoken to that have seen kind of this rumor mill that's going around. And one thing I just remind them of is Bitcoin will survive anything, first of all. So there is no fear of, this.
I haven't seen the rumors, but I didn't know that people were saying Bitcoin would be affected or whatever.
Well, I mean, you can. It doesn't take you 5 seconds to find them, but yeah, you don't go find them now. You're on vacation, but when you get back, you're going to be shocked at the stuff that people are saying. And
is it because of this or just generally? Because
it's because of this, but is the I think the
catalyst.
straw that broke the camel's back with a lot of these guys who are very, very skeptical as to the sustainability of this debt model, and essentially the dilution of the shareholders if the rules change and there's more shares issued, based upon goalposts being at one spot one day and maybe being moved. I don't know enough to know really. I'm not a MicroStrategy guy. I like to keep it simple, and that to me has never seemed simple. And so I can't speak intelligently. I just know that it does. It's a radical headline. It does induce a lot of fear, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's some change in transparency, and there's some more forward-facing forward-facing retail presence from Saylor, I can't remember what his exact quote was, but I think at one point he said, "I'm never going to prove my reserves," right? this may change that type of notion. We may find out that
Right, but I mean, it was effectively he wouldn't prove it on chain, but obviously he has disclosures and reporting every quarter, so it's not like you should be doubting that he has it.
of course not. Yeah, exactly. This is as Wall Street gets. But I think on chain would put the nail in the coffin, and it would absolutely quelch all of the potential fire that comes out of the fear that comes out of this. So we'll see how it happens, how it goes down. But it's happening quicker than I thought it would, to be honest with you.
Well, there's two sides to the master story. There's the sailor side, but there's also the reality of the Wall Street side, and there's a fairly sizable entity on the other side of the master trade, and that's Jim Chanos, right? So Jim Chanos is short MicroStrategy and has been vocal about being short MicroStrategy. So he's had a pretty thrilling couple of months from his side of the table. At the same time, though, the Jim Chanos is a guy that's got skin in the game and can chirp. That guy can chirp all he wants. He's got skin in the game, put his money where his mouth is. But anonymous Twitter accounts that are outraged that there's been an adjustment to MNAV, which, by the way, MNAV didn't even exist as a sort of metric 5 years ago. Nobody had ever heard of it. It's made out of complete thin air. Are just irrelevant. I mean, they're just completely irrelevant. If you have a problem with MicroStrategy and them adjusting their thoughts or bylaws or paper or whatever was said about MNAV 6 months ago, go start your own company and do it better than
By the way, if I was throwing a yellow at the MicroStrategy chart, that is at a support level you would want to buy right there. I'm not, we got maximum FUD priced at the lowest level in a while, sitting on support. That sounds like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Elon Musk went on Rogan and smoked, and it's going to zero, right? I mean, this has all the vibes of a dead ass bottom, especially when we think that Bitcoin's going to rise.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And it's again back to the bet the horse, bet the jockey. Sailor's not a horse. A jockey I'm betting against. I remember 4 or 5 years ago when he was at the Bitcoin conference and Bitcoin was in really a bear market, and everybody was talking about him going bust. They were all going 17,000 is his bust number. If it gets to 17,
and it was 25.
Yeah, exactly. And so
17, and he was like, "Guys, it's like 3,000, and I'll just add some more." Like.
There's in my mind that's a false narrative, right? That's a fear mongering tactic to get people to think that it's a giant house of cards. It's just not. It's a giant pool of liquidity, and I mean giant. And he's got strings to get more liquidity in there. So it's again signal versus noise, and how do you get through the noise?
But he's gonna, the other thing that Sailor's dealing with is because MicroStrategy is a public company, because it plays on the field of Wall Street, he's going to deal with the likes of Chanos and short sellers in the same way that Elon has dealt with the same with Tesla over time, meaning it's going to take continued Herculean effort to do what it is that Sailor's doing. And that's just the reality of things. But
we saw this before. It was the most heavily shorted stock on Wall Street, and that was the massive breakout because those shorts got squeezed.
Correct.
So it's good and it's bad. It just depends on where you are in the market and who's buying and who's selling. But yeah, I mean, listen, it's still trading at a multiple to the NAV of his underlying Bitcoin, and you see all these other treasury companies launching at higher NAVs. Multiples to NAV, that's going to be arbed away in the favor of the biggest and against the speculative ones that launch first. Can we talk about some other mega chads, you guys? Arch Public. I can't. So on Wi-Fi at this place, I can do it on mobile. I can bring up tweets, but I cannot bring up tweets. Twitter does not work on the Wi-Fi here. So I can't show tweets, which is going to be a long week for me.
I don't know where you're located, but that sounds like a dystopian. That sounds like a dystopian location that I never want to. Never
terrible. Wi-Fi, no Twitter on Wi-Fi.
The first thing to say about Arch and what we're doing, we continue to add assets that are tradable. We continue to add exchanges where you can go and use our products. And then in August, probably the most important thing is our Dog Days of Summer promotion that is giving out significant discounts associated with our concierge program. We have had an extraordinary response to our promotion. People have been, going from our free product to our concierge program, which unlocks all sorts of stuff, moving quickly in that direction because of the discounts. So I'd encourage people to reach out to us. Lots happening at Arch Public, and it's happening quickly. Tillman, why don't you jump in here?
Hey, wait, guys, I want to know, has the algo, well, I guess it depends on people's instances, but I haven't been looking at it because shipwrecked. Has it been buying this dip? What's the algo doing right now?
Well,
I ask.
obviously the default settings have been clipping very nicely. Every user has the ability to change those settings, and so depending upon what those settings are, you either constitute this as a dip and you're taking advantage of it through the automation, or you've said, hey, I don't want to buy unless it's bigger than this dip. So that's the beauty of our software is that once we teach you how to use it, you can custom fit exactly what your risk tolerance is into those buys and sells. And then you set it and forget it, and it's acting as if it's you because you came up with the rules. That's really what makes it as flexible and as widely usable by everybody. If you're an institution and you want to build a individual that just wants to trade $10,000 a year, we have all of that covered for you. And if you're on the retail side of it, it's completely free to use. What we want is people to use the tool, people to see the value in what it gives them in their life, the time it saves them, the amount of emotional stress that it saves them. And then if they choose to move beyond that $10,000 cap for that concierge program.
Scott, just as an update, because I know you get these questions from time to time on the $10,000 portfolio. On Friday, there was a significant trade that was to the upside, the better part of 8%. So again, that $10,000 portfolio is now above $16,000 over a little more than a year. Again, extraordinary work by Tillman and the dev team. A trade like that, and that trade, by the way, happened inside of, I think it was less than 30 minutes. Happened very, very quickly. Gap trade that I think was a short, where the S&P moved down very, very quickly and captured that plus 8% number. So we don't talk about futures a ton on this show compared to what we used to, because we've made that particular part of our company an invite-only type of access. But we still do periodically on a monthly basis let a few people in based on how they qualify. But again, that $10,000 portfolio continues to do exceptionally well. So yeah, come work with us, come talk to us. I will tell you that the volatility associated with SUI and Solana and XRP and the like, the amount of trades on the arbitrage side that are happening is a ton, because those things, they fluctuate pretty significantly.
To be clear, I had some comments and I told you, like, not really negative, but people were like, I'm not really getting, the triggering I want from the Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's not volatile. So you go to these other assets, you use that volatility to stack more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You gotta, take the thing and you mesh the thing and.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about it for a second. It's really, I think a lot of our customers find this interesting, is they hear all the time from everybody, volatility is a feature, volatility is a great thing. Well, we love the volatility. But if you're sitting on the sidelines with 100% of your cash allocated into your position, you hate volatility, especially to the downside, because it's a big drop in your price, in your value. But when you have tools that are sitting there waiting to harvest volatility, that are sitting there waiting for the market to do the shakeout move, if it happens, then you capitalize on it. If it doesn't happen, then you don't capitalize on it because it didn't happen. There's only upside to those situations. And so when you set parameters inside of our software that says, every time the market goes up by 2.5% in a 4-hour window, whatever. That's just arbitrary. But whatever your parameters are, and that criteria is met, then you get to decide, okay, do I want to cash out 1 for 1 on my entry, or do I want to make it a 50% cash out, a 25% cash out? So you get to determine how much cash you take off the table. So a lot of our customers are using the volatility of, like Andrew said, SUI, which is highly volatile, and they're doing a 1 for 1 entry exit. So they're just setting it and forgetting it and waiting for the volatility to happen. And what happens is there's a big drop in price, there's an entry, there's a big spike in price, there's an exit. And because they have it set 1 to 1, they're getting 100% out of those positions, and they're able to harvest the rewards of that spread. And you're able to, in the software, set rules like, don't sell it unless it's above my cost basis. So now you just wait, and if it doesn't ever happen, then there's no harm, no foul. You've acquired the SUI that you've acquired, and you will just be waiting until those rise in prices do take place. So it's something that really is a unique offering that is customizable at an infinite level. You can do 100 of those instances on top of one another.
By the way, just kind of to wrap it up here, our tools work across 3 exchanges now, Kraken, Gemini, and Coinbase. So if you've got a Coinbase account, you can use our entire warehouse of tools on Coinbase as well. There's another exchange that's coming here over the next 30 to 45 days. So 3 exchanges now where you can use our tools. You don't have to move money if you don't want to. If you've already got capital on those exchanges, you can just plug and play, and away you go. The great thing with what we do, we work really, really hard at Arch Public to provide extraordinary service. So constant communication, whether it's a free version or you're in our concierge program, you're going to get lots of communication from Arch Public. You're going to have lots of access to get assistance when you're trying to figure out, hey, how should I use these tools? And that's a big differentiator for us. Very, very difficult to get a hold of anybody in the crypto world these days. That's not the case with us.
And to that point, we've actually been able to establish great relationships with these exchanges, and we can help in even you getting access to people that can help you within the exchange. We do not custody money. We do not make trades for people. We do not give you a portion of profits. None of that. You're in control. You deposit your money in your brokerage account at your exchange of choice, and you plug in through TradingView to our software, and you use it to whatever end you want to. Completely user driven, completely hands-on, and we're just here to help show you exactly how to use the tools and what their primary functions are.
Yeah, it's amazing, and everybody should try it because it's free. It's literally free. I have to go because of shipwrecked, and need to obviously go. Try to find my way
Well, the
off this
rescue
island.
helicopter is coming. I see it in the
Maybe
background.
find my kids on the shipwrecked island. So guys, check out Arch Public, obviously archpublic.com. I wish I could have brought up some tweets to show you the incredible performance this week, but here we are. Otherwise, everybody, that is what we have for you today. Thank you, Andrew and Tillman, and we will see you guys next week.
You bet. See you, man.
Hey folks, a quick disclaimer. This segment is brought to you by a partner of this channel. Now, imagine front-running Wall Street on the world's 4th largest crypto, a deflationary powerhouse that yields staking rewards and fuels one of the most active blockchains on the planet. BNB has outpaced Bitcoin with 25x returns over 5 years, yet it's been off limits to most US investors until now. Enter CEA Industries, ticker BNC on NASDAQ, the first publicly traded company to adopt BNB as its core treasury asset, echoing MicroStrategy's Bitcoin playbook. Backed by institutions like 10x Capital and YZI Labs, they've already raised $500 million, positioning for massive inflows from ETFs, exchanges, and sovereign funds. Sophisticated investors, this is your backdoor to BNB exposure via a single ticker. Start your due diligence on NASDAQ BNC today before institutions flood in and the edge vanishes.